What was the selection process like? How did you come across the application? What was your exposure to it and your desire to participate? How did that unfold for you?
Yeah, that's a good question because my story is a little different than the others. I thought, I'm going to throw my name in a hat. I know my running credentials were there, and I don't know how many people were interested in this, but I thought, I'm going to go ahead and do it. And then they had selected their 12 runners, and then I got a call from JJ saying, hey, we really like your running credentials, but we want you to be a team chief. And so I kind of sat on that for a few days because I'm a runner, especially now that I'm retired. It's kind of my thing. I mean, I want to run. That's just what I do. I really don't want to coach or chief. I mean, I'll be honest. They also gave me the caveat of, hey, there's a decent chance with 12 runners that we're going to reach out to you team chiefs first if someone goes down or can't do it. And, I ain't gonna lie, that probably kept me in it to continue on because that little piece of hope that I can be a part of this team in running. I mean, because that's really what I wanted to do. And lo and behold, 2 spots open and I jumped right in that spot and I love it.
Is that much of it? That's not much of a change for you, right?
My name is Kerry Kite. I used to load bombs in the Air Force, and now I'm a writer, a filmmaker, and an entrepreneur. Through using the post-9/11 GI Bill to go to college, working hourly jobs to pay the bills, and freelancing my way into a career, I've studied what it takes to successfully transition from service to civilian, and that study has become a conversation. On this podcast, I speak to other veterans, successful artists and entrepreneurs about their transition, what they did well, where they failed, what they learned, and most importantly, how they applied their skills. Episode 142 features Zack Lever, a retired command sergeant major in the Army and an ultrarunner participating in the Old Glory Ultra Relay with Team RWB. Zack gets vulnerable and opens up about the conflict he experienced internally as he was initially chosen to be a team chief and is now participating as a runner. Welcome. This is Veteran Made. Our merch store is live at store.veteranmadeproductions.com. Grab hats, t-shirts, and hoodies in both performance and tri-blend cotton fabrics. Use code VM-5OFF for 5% off your purchase. Veteran Made is also sponsored by GoPills, a military-grade nootropic that contributes to brain health over time. Use code VM15 at checkout for 15% off. I get my collagen protein from Bubs Naturals, where you can use code VETERANMADE, all one word, at checkout for 20% off your order. We're also proud to partner with True Made Foods, which makes condiments free from added sugar and sweetened with real foods. Use code VET at checkout for 15% off. We love socks in this house. I get my wife new socks every Christmas. More importantly, we love American-grown and made socks. Use code VETERANMADE15 at rucksocks.com for 15% off. And lastly, I end my day with Rack Out from Bravo Actual to maintain quality sleep, resulting in a well-rested body and mind. Use code VETERANMADE with a space between the words at checkout for 15% off your order. Enjoy the episode.
All right, we are live. Good morning from the great state of Ohio for me. Good morning from the great state of Tennessee. Zack Lever. Zack Lever, welcome to Veteran Made. I should have asked you that before we started recording, but here we are. Welcome.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me on. It's been something I've looked forward to for a while, so it's good to chat with you and get on this thing.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And it's funny. I have one of those names that gets mispronounced, and I usually make it a point to ensure that I'm going to say it correctly before we go live. And of course, I didn't do it this time, but such is life. Well, yeah, welcome. I'm really excited to have you. It's good to see you again. Really excited to get on the road here with you and the rest of the team in a month. We're recording this for those listening in a few weeks. We are recording this literally 30 days out from kickoff of the Old Glory Ultra Relay here on April 2nd. You guys will be kicking off on May 2nd. So yeah, man. I mean, for those who don't know who you are, give us a brief primer on who you are and where and when you served, and then we'll jump right into Ogre.
Yeah. So Zack Lever, I grew up in a small town in Washington State in the Cascade Mountain Range there. Bounced around a few towns, but settled in Cleveland, Washington, and that's where I graduated high school and joined the Army from in 1990. Served 25 years. Came in as an E1, which in the Army, I don't know about the other services, I can't remember, but E1 for the Army is nothing on your callers, completely blank. And was honored to be able to go through every enlisted rank in the Army, finishing up at E9, which is kind of special, means a lot to me. 80% of our veterans are enlisted. So that's pretty cool. I can relate where I have served in their position or grade at their level, for 80% of our veterans. pretty cool. I'm pretty proud of that.
That's awesome. I mean, that stat makes sense to me now that I hear it, but I didn't actually know that. And it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I was in the Air Force, enlisted. I went in slick sleeves is what we called ourselves, because we didn't have the ranks on the collar. We had the ranks on our arms. And so yeah, I was in E1 when I went in. I got really lucky because my recruiter, he was like, there's a cash bonus to enlist for 6 years plus you'd sew on E3 right as you graduated from boot camp in the Air Force, and then you get like a cash bonus. And he was like, listen, man, enlist for 4 years, because you can always make the decision to re-enlist. You can't make the decision to get out early if that's something that you want to do. And they call it a cash bonus. They call it it's all going to even itself out. You're single, you don't have dependents, like just do your thing. So I had a similar experience. I obviously didn't serve for 20 plus years and hit all of the ranks, but I went in as an E1 as well, which
cool.
Interesting experience for sure.
Yeah, it is. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, we've got the connection to Cleveland, Washington. My business partner and wife and co-director and co-producer of this documentary we're making made a documentary about your hometown there in Cleveland a couple of years ago. So I haven't been there, but she's been there, and you two were able to chat a little bit about that at UHP.
That's super cool. Yeah, super cool.
So what got you into running? Is that something that's that you obviously everybody in service does a little bit of PT, as I've talked about with all the other runners, but for yourself, what got you into running and what got you into this elite distance running?
Well, I didn't, during my Army career, I ran like anybody else. I was in combat arms, MOS, so we ran maybe a little bit more than your average person, but I was never really that serious about it. I was always competitive and always wanted to push the pace and kind of do that when you're with the guys and kind of, buddy check them that way. And it was, that kind of thing. But, growing up as a young child man outside, I was always outside. Our parents didn't let us watch TV, so I was always outside running and playing in the woods and doing all those things. And, but I wasn't on track or cross country. I think Cleveland was too small to even have those two sports. We barely had a baseball team. But, so then it wasn't until I retired from the Army in 2015 where, I needed to fill that void of staying busy and not sitting around. So, the kids had all grown up and were either in college or getting ready to start or completed college. So, that kind of started the process of, starting off with, doing a 50K and the process of training for a 50K. I did a last man standing event and ended up going, I think 50 miles at a real mountain hill one. And that was before the 50K. So that was kind of cool. And then it just one thing led to another, bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then, into some of these multi-day ones that go across several states, which are a lot of fun too.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned growing up outside and playing outside and running around, but that could lead you in all kinds of different places. So retiring from the Army, from the military, what made you choose running as that activity to keep you from being bored? What was it about running, and why wasn't it rucking or hunting or fishing? Or, obviously in our community, your veteran community, lots of people choose lots of different things, which there's a ton of value to all of those things. So curious what drew you to running.
And I dabble into some of those other ones as well, but running is the main one to me. That's my medicine, if you will. And I know we've heard this before, but so, I go on a run. Like this morning, I went on my run. It was a scheduled run. I have a coach. I've had him for 18 months just because it's nice for him to throw me my schedule, and I just look at it and do it. But, it's like a potion for me. I do my run and it fills up that bottle of potion. And then slowly through the course of the day, it starts getting down and then it's out. And then I got to do it again. And I do it even on vacations and all that. My wife's very understanding. Wherever I go, I'm just always run. I'm one of these, I run every day kind of guys. So it's just how I am. And I love it. And I truly enjoy it. And I like it. And I don't have to rely on anybody or anything for it, so it's not expensive. It's relatively cheap, and a lot of reasons, but it's mainly just because it's kind of me. It's kind of my thing. It's something I could do all by myself without nobody else to help.
Do you enjoy that kind of that alone time, that solitary aspect of the activity?
Yeah, it really clears my mind, and kind of always has. Even looking back in my Army days, as I started to get into some of the senior enlisted ranks, running would always kind of clear my mind if I had a problem set or something I really needed to think about and spend 24 hours, if you will, over it. A run would always, bring clarity. You get more oxygen to the brain. There's some science there and all those things, and endorphins and feel good. So I think we think, and I was just listening to Bill Savage's podcast a little bit earlier, and he kind of hit the nail on the head. Kind of people's true self kind of comes out, while they're running or just afterwards, and they're able to open up a little bit more. So that's huge. That's huge mental clarity for that.
Yeah, I think physical activity in general does that, right? Like I always know if I work from home, right? So I'm like standing here in my study, upstairs, and I've got the garage gym out back detached from the house. And if I'm needing my creative juices to get flowing, or even my logistical juices to get flowing, because I can't like figure out where I am in my workday and what it is that I need to do, I'm like, all right, drop everything, hit the garage, go hit the row machine, get some of that aerobic exercise, and then lift some heavy weights, and the next thing you know, it's like a fresh start. And so that physical activity combined, I think, with that solitary aspect of it, just helps clear the mind and aligns like the body, the mind, and the spirit a little bit. Everybody's a little bit different. What do you listen to when you're out there on the road? Podcasts, music, nothing? Like Jason, what's your approach?
Yeah, I'm a Jason guy for sure. I can't have anything in my ears, blaring in my ears, or distracting me. I got to get in my own element. I got to have situational. It's a awareness kind of thing. I just don't like that distraction of music. It just doesn't do anything for me. I've tried it, and it doesn't do anything more. And especially in the woods. I spend a lot of time in the woods too. I know for Ogre, we've kind of had to transition to a lot of roads, and some of my longer multi-day events I've done on roads. But in the woods, it's even harder to listen to music.
Yeah. Has it been a difficult transition for you to go from running in the woods to running on pavement and not listening to anything?
No, not at all. It's not at all. It's transitioning from woods running to the trail running to road is actually really fairly simple. You can't go the other way though. That's hard. If you're solely training on roads and all of a sudden decide to go on a trail and think you're going to get the same time, you're probably going to be sorely mistaken. But
yeah. It's funny. I was going to say that you're relatively recently removed from the service, but I did actually just remember you said you got out in 2015. You retired.
2015.
That was 10 years ago. In my head, that was
crazy.
A couple years ago, and it's actually 10 years ago.
Crazy.
Which is actually just wild to think about. So for the last 10 years as you've been doing this, what got you connected with Team RWB as an organization? And then I want to jump into this event and your journey there specifically. But with Team RWB, how'd you get affiliated? How'd you get connected? Where'd you get integrated?
Yeah, well, the first time I had even heard about Team RWB or anything like that was in Oak Grove, which is a small community right outside the gate. And and the reason why is I had started when I retired. I worked for General Dynamics on post for the Mission Training Complex Center, but we have a lot of veterans there. And I thought, and not a whole lot of movement from them. And I thought, why don't we start a 5K that we can do on a weekly basis that can get people more involved? And so I don't know if you've ever heard of Park Run. They're very big in the UK and Europe. It's a free 5K that's put on for the community, and it's a very simplified process where you have a barcode, you scan it, so the stats are terrific. But anyway, I looked into that, got approval. They came down, and loved the course, and then we got started in 2019. We did a free 5K outside every Saturday. We'd set that thing up, and we did it for over a year. And then COVID kind of came and kind of put a damper to that, but more on that later. But anyway, Team RWB, first time I saw they showed up in a group of like 15 or 20. I think they used it for one of their weekly events. They showed up. They all had their red shirts. I thought, oh man, pretty dang cool, And so with my Park Run 5K event, they would kind of jump onto that, and they love the stats, and we'd all take the pictures, and then they talked me like, hey, yeah, you can join too. And I got the nice red shirt that I still got today. And that was kind of my start in the Team RWB. I was very impressed with it. Anyway, COVID came along and kind of took out the park run, and we weren't really able to recover after that because it's been shut down for so long, mandatory. They wouldn't let us, those kind of things. And then when we tried to start it up again, a lot of people had moved and been displaced. And yeah, but that was my introduction to Team RWB right there. It was a good one.
Yeah, that's great. And so you were participating at that kind of local level there. And which post were you at there that you retired?
That's still Fort Campbell, because my last duty station was the Command Sergeant Major in Bastogne. Yep. And then I retired 2015. We bought 20 acres of property in 2014, and then, a couple years, in 2019 we built the house where we're at right now. But so yeah, it was all Fort Campbell area, that we did this at.
Okay, great. And so so you were kind of participating at that local level. What was your exposure to the regional and the national as you were going through that immediately before COVID and then post COVID, being involved in Team RWB? Did you have an idea of the scope of the organization?
No, but I felt it was growing pretty big, because I was surprised at how many people that were in this organization I hadn't quite heard of yet. I hadn't really caught on to it yet. But then because of Park Run, I just saw, the groups were huge, and then they were talking about other events you could do too, and rucking, and, they were trying to do something every week, and it was super impressive. And they were rolling pretty good in 2019. I don't know if they're even quite back to that level yet now. I'm not sure. But they were rolling really good. It was impressive.
Yeah. It's one of my favorite things about the organization is that a lot of these nonprofits they go national really quickly, right? And it's the focus of the top down and this large national organization that you're a part of, and it's hard to figure out where you fit in. What I love about Team RWB are the regional components, yes, but there's also like the local components, right? So like now I'm integrated into Columbus Team RWB, right? So like as we finish up this event and all the support that we're doing with the run, like we'll get back. I'm like, all right, so who's rucking, who's doing different stuff, like and get integrated at the local level, and stay integrated into the community, which is it's just one of my favorite parts about how they run.
Super, it's wonderful.
Yeah,
it really is.
And then in terms of the Old Glory Ultra Relay, what was the selection process like? How did you come across the application? What was your exposure to it and your desire to participate? How did that unfold for you?
Yeah, that's a good question, because my story is a little different than the others. I saw the link someone shared, I think, on Facebook, so I clicked on, like, hey, I'm a member of Team RWB. Let me look into this. I read some more. And I thought, I'm gonna throw my name in a hat. I know my running credentials were there, and I don't know how many people were interested in this, but I thought, I'm gonna go ahead and do it. I'm in a good spot in my life. My kids are growing up. This is perfect. I would love to be a part of this. So I did. I didn't hear nothing back. I saw the emails from JJ saying, hey, we're going through it, and the process is pretty extensive. And then they had selected their 12 runners, and then I got a call from JJ saying, hey, we really like your running credentials. You could easily be a runner on this team, but we want you to crew coach it, be a team chief. And I guess JJ had quoted a study that someone had done. It was either a study or an organization that had advised him that get some team chiefs that are great runners or good runners or whatever, and not let them run. So that way they can kind of help out with telling these runners, when to run and when not to run, those kinds. But that was the idea. And so I kind of sat on that for a few days, because I'm a runner, especially now that I'm retired. It's kind of my thing. I mean, I want to run. I mean, that's just what I do. I really don't want to coach or chief. I mean, I'll be honest. So I had to think about it for a few days, and then Solely contacted me and sold on the idea on me a little bit more. And they also gave me the caveat of, hey, there's a decent chance with 12 runners that we're going to reach out to you team chiefs first. It was me, Josh, and Roel, both great runners. And we're going to have you guys, do both if someone goes down or can't do it. And, I ain't gonna lie, that probably kept me in it to continue on, because that little piece of hope that I can be a part of this team in running. I mean, because that's really what I wanted to do. And lo and behold, we had one person that had some other commitments with family. another young lady that is going to have a child this year, and so there was 2 spots open, and I was on Team Red, and Team Red was one of the ones that lost it, and I jumped right in that spot, and I love it. Even though it would be fun, also still to have done the chief thing and talk shit to Johnny the whole time, but I can still talk shit to Johnny anyway.
I was about to say there's plenty of shit talking to go around on Team Red for sure. I had a phone call with Johnny yesterday. We were chatting about some stuff, and I just doubled over laughing the entire time. I don't know how we actually got anything done on that phone call, but I want to rewind a little bit and talk about the nature of participation, the nature of integration, right, into a community, into an organization, onto a team. And you were honest and vulnerable there as you were talking about it. And I'd love it if you're willing to drill a little bit deeper and open up and even get a little bit more vulnerable about being chosen to do something that was almost what you wanted to do, but then would require a certain amount of responsibility from you on the team to help and to contribute and to coach and to chief, but not to actually do. And you said you sat on it for a few days. Can you walk us through what that felt like? What were the thoughts that you were observing going through your head? What were the feelings that you were observing going through your body as you were looking at this opportunity that didn't, I don't know, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but maybe it didn't feel like as complete to you as it could have. But like, what did those couple of days look like, feel like, sound like?
That's a good question. I thought about it a lot, and I talked it over with my wife. I talked it over with her father, who actually happened to be in town. We were getting ready to go. My daughter was getting married that weekend, a couple of days before JJ called in Nashville. So we had a lot of family, and then I was sharing it with a few of them. Like, hey, I'm going to be a part of this big thing, and I really want to run, but they want me to kind of be an advisor, our team chief, and all of them were really quick to say, Zach, you've done plenty. Just do it. It's something great to be a part of. Any way you can get in. So they're very supportive of that, and yeah, and I totally got it. But in my heart, I just wanted to run. It was something. I'm just a runner. I mean, I would have had to run anyway. The way I looked at it, I would have been one of those guys running out there with them just because I have to run anyway. Just like I explained to you, I run every day just because it's my medicine. It's my potion. So I was, it was something I ended up settling into that role of, hey, I'm going to be this chief. And we went to the first camp. It's where I met you and your wife.
Yep.
And, I'd embrace that role, super cool, getting the different, members of the team. And we all did that time relay run and all that stuff. And I was sold in on it. And, and it wasn't until, the couple people dropped that my mind, oh, shoot, this was the spot they talked about that could possibly happen. And just like that, I'm out there running. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. You mentioned that the opportunity to potentially fill in is ultimately what drove you to say yes to it. But had you settled into, all right, I'll get out there and run with them for a little bit as I'm coaching. But were you fully prepared to only coach, to only chief?
Oh yeah, for sure. Once we got on site there in Arkansas and finished that first one, my brain had already done the switch. I can switch things on and off pretty easily. I'm glad I got that gift, but I can flip things on and off pretty quickly. I had flipped it on to, hey, I'm team chief now. I was getting in the weeds on things, and I was wanting to, kind of look at their training and kind of want to know what they're going to do and their ideas. And I was talking to, everyone on Team Red pretty much every day. And, I was really diving into it. And then things kind of turned a little bit different, because it's a totally different mindset. When you're just a runner, the mindset is completely different because you have to prepare yourself for the team and get yourself ready. And that's a different mental process. When you're just doing the team lead role, it's harder in a way that, you got these other four, you're constantly thinking of this and that and everything else. And as a runner, you gotta squeeze it down to, what the important things are to get yourself ready to get on the road and then prepare and recover afterwards. It's easier. So Yeah, it's been quite a journey already. I can't wait for it to start. It seems like we've been talking about this thing for a year now.
Yeah. But I mean, so now you're doing both, right? Like obviously Roel is kind of floating and helping to chief
Yeah.
as well, you're right, and working with the entire team. But I mean, technically you're kind of doing both. So when that switch then got flipped back for you in this case, saying, hey, we're tapping you in, you're gonna be a runner on Team Red and you're gonna be a runner for the team of 12 at large. What were you thinking? What were you feeling? Obviously you were excited, but like how did that flip flop back and forth of, hey, I was ready to be, my mind and heart was set on coaching and chiefing and helping and playing that role, but now then I get to do this thing I originally wanted to do. Like, what was that like for you?
Yeah, that was wild. That was wild. But when you look at Team Red in particular, of all the teams, that one requires the least amount of a team chief. I mean, everyone, we're all in our 50s. Cole and I will be 53 this year, and you know Johnny's just getting ready to turn 50, and Mary's just a little north of us in age. So we're all in our 50s. We're all experienced. We all know how to get our bodies right. I mean, there is like minuscule amount of team coaching that needs to happen with that team. If anything, we're the team that we can just rotate and shift that role. To be honest, it's so easy. Look at Cole. I mean, he's a beast. I mean, the things he does. Everyone on that team is impressive, and everyone has a leadership role on that team. If it's Mary one day taking the lead, that wants to be a little more vocal and add her presence on how we should do things. Yeah, we're gonna listen to her. So really, there's no team chief. I mean, on paper you can maybe say I am, but really there's not. There's four of us runners, and we're all very experienced and know how to get things done. And I think that role will just kind of rotate amongst each other. When the leadership moment is there for a person and they're feeling it, they'll take it, and we're just going to follow their lead. It's one of those lead follower, get the hell out of the way things. So, and there'll be different times when all of us will be doing each one of those things I just mentioned, lead, follow, and getting out of the way. So, yeah, that's kind of how I see it, especially with Team Red. It's exciting.
Yeah, I've talked to everybody on Team Red. Obviously, I mean, I talked to Mary, on a regular basis, just through the community, yeah. Right? We're all a part of this team in some way, shape, or form. But I haven't interviewed her for the podcast yet. But you're the third from the team, so I've talked to Johnny, I've talked to Cole. As of this recording, Cole's episode isn't live yet, but so now you're the third on that team, and yeah, it just seems like you guys have this seasoned approach to life, right? And then you have this seasoned approach to running. You mentioned being excited for this damn thing to start. I have that feeling too, right? It feels like we've been talking about it for so long. We've been doing this podcast series for the last, basically since the end of January. I have that weird feeling of I'm ready for this thing to start, but I still want that extra month of prep for the storytelling aspect that we're going to be doing, right? So Dre and I are wrestling with that odd combination of excitement, but I could use a little bit more time. But I just want to get out there and make this thing happen. So what is that like for you personally? You mentioned being excited for it to start, talking about it for a long time. Where are you at emotionally? Where are you at physically, nutritionally, all of these different things? You're a month out. How you feeling? You ready to go? What's on your mind? What's on your heart there?
Yeah, well, I'm in a great place physically. I know my training has been really good. I'm not one of the fastest guys on the team, but I got a solid base of miles, and in my role, I just want to be consistent on those days when I'm out there, because that's kind of what we're looking for. I don't want to go out there. It's easy. Obviously, this has been talked a lot. Of going out there too fast, but everyone that is running those fast times right now, they have no idea what they're going to feel like on day 8, because none of them have done 8 days in a row. All right, so it's all about, there's going to be some newness to that. And but with my training block, I have a coach named Paul DeWitt, he's 2-time Leadville winner, Leadville 100, great guy, and we just gel well together. Zach Bitter came on board, and Zach's a great guy. I met him a few times down on Tunnel Hill. It's a race I go, and he's got great training plans for any of the runners that want to jump on board. But just because of familiarity with Paul DeWitt, I just wanted to keep him, that continuity. We have a great vibe and chemistry. We've done a lot of things together. We've done the 350-mile race across the South. Last year we did the Georgia Death Race we trained up for, which is a good one. And it was just comfort level. So I kept Paul, and he knows what we're doing. He knows the paces we're trying to push. He knows the amount of time. He loves the challenge. He's never really worked with anything kind of like Zack, kind of saying, so he's excited about it as well. And so we're talking and piecing this thing together. And we had a talk just a couple of days ago about, he wanted to know my thoughts on kind of a taper. And you really, we're not really going to do a whole lot of tapering with this thing we came up with because a lot of times when you do a taper, you've done these training blocks you've built up, and then a week or two prior you crank down to get all your glycogen, all those body levels for, and then you want to push hard and exhaust yourself to the very end and time it perfect. Well, this isn't that way. We don't want to smash ourselves through this. We want to stay progressively strong all the way through till we get to DC. And so one technique to do that is probably not do much of a taper. So I'm probably going to run my continuous 60 to 80 miles a week until then. And I think maybe that would be the one way to handle it. But there's different approaches. I mean, if someone takes a taper and wants to rest their body just a little bit more and feels that's fine. Because at the end of the day, it's going to come down to the day 6, 10 or whatever that, the suck's going to hit, and you're going to it's going to come up to the suck up factor anyway at some point. But yeah, that's our thought, the plan, everything's, good with the plan until first contact. We've heard that a million times too. So yeah, but I feel really good physically, and then, we just battle with the mental side of just, come on, let's get grinding. What do we got to do? What do we got to prepare for? What do we got to pack? All those little things. We got to, get our airline tickets. What day do you want to go down there? I'm going down there Tuesday. And what does it look on the back then? Who from my family is going to show up, in DC and those kind of things. But physically, it's been great. Mental's constant. It's always a work in progress with those.
Yeah, you mentioned the day 8 thing, right? And a handful of people have talked about that over the course of this series. Johnny talked about it pretty in depth and very assertively, obviously on brand for him. But this thing isn't an ultra marathon. It almost isn't even an ultra marathon relay, right? It's a different sorts. So you can't fully prepare for what you're going to feel like on day 8, 9, 10, but that something is going to feel different. And you're going to be feeling something that you've never felt. And so are a lot of other people that you're working with and running with. So how do you mentally and emotionally prepare for that uncertainty?
You just got to grind it in some of the places you've been before. Some of you draw on your past experiences. You've drawn on some tough challenges you've done before, and that gives you strength. I've been through some of these races that have just absolutely just kicked me in the dirt, and I'll feed back into that and that voice in my head and keep me going. And then you got your teammates there too. We're all there to help pick each other up when we need to, and then push each other. So that's big, and that's a big thing. We'll be drawing on each other for that. And then the community, the flag is powerful. It's powerful when you're running with the flag, when you start thinking about that and who it represents and what you're doing. And as you're going through these towns, the support along the way, and those things will be big lifts. So I think that'll be super important.
Yeah. I'm excited. I mean, obviously we're going to be out there on the road with you guys as we tell this. And it's interesting. We're in a unique position because we obviously want to support the team, and we want the event to go well. We want the team to finish. We know the team is going to finish. Obviously, I was ribbing Sully and JJ at the beginning of the series about wondering whether or not you guys are going to finish. But I know that we are going to finish, and we definitely view ourselves as part of the team. That being said, cinematically, dramatically, as we're looking to tell a story, I'm just very curious to see how this unfolds halfway through the country and halfway through the race, right? And as we get on there towards the end, like I'm thinking about it from the standpoint of cheering for you guys, knowing that you're going to encounter whatever difficulties it is that you are going to encounter. We're going to be there to capture that, and then we're going to be able to share that story of triumph, that story of perseverance, that story of resilience, right? And these are all buzzwords that I think people overuse, but like that's exactly what it is that we're out there to capture from a storytelling standpoint. And so, I'm excited. I'm excited to see how it goes and to see what dynamics unfold positively, right? There's a lot of relationships that have been built, but there's also things that are being built right now that you guys don't even know are being built. They're going to discover on the road, right? Whether it's a relationship, between a couple of people, right, or relationship dynamics between the teams, all the different scenarios that you all are prepping for. Something's going to happen. You guys are going to click into place, and you're going to be like, "Holy shit! We didn't realize we were preparing for this exact thing, but here we are, prepared for this exact thing, whatever that thing may be."
Absolutely. Yeah. It's exciting. Yeah.
Super exciting.
A lot of challenges and a lot of opportunities, I know, for your what you're trying to do too. And how are you going to get that out anyway? Is it going to be a big, long 6, 7, 8 hour series, or what are you guys doing with that?
Yeah, I mean, we're looking to make it a feature length documentary film, right? So anywhere between 60 and 90 minutes, right? Like a feature length film. That being said, we are open to it being more episodic, right? As you're describing. It really just depends on who picks it up from a distribution standpoint. We're having a handful of different conversations with a handful of different channels right now, as well as different brand partners to come on and help us tell this story. And so, we're going to capture enough footage either for a feature length documentary film or an docu-series. So,
well, good. Thanks for that. Because I know if I'm thinking that, some other people watching are probably wondering the same thing.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you asking. We'll probably clip that out and share it so that people have a better understanding. But yeah, we're excited. All right, Zach, I want to be respectful of your time and start to wrap things up here. We'll link out to the Team RWB's Oh Glory Ultra Relay URL where folks can go donate. But where can folks find you and follow your running journey online, on social? Where can folks find you?
I'm on Facebook, of course, Zack Lever, and then also Instagram. It's at Z Twain. So ZTWAIN. I'm on there quite a bit. I've gotten a little bit better at using some of those social media platforms. I'm also on Twitter, but that's kind of a lower, I don't have much of a presence there, or X they call it. But yeah, Instagram for sure. That's the main place.
Awesome. It's great. Well, as you know, I end each episode with an open-ended question. What's on your heart and your mind for our community right now? Could be a piece of advice, something you want to get off your chest, or something you want to reiterate that we've talked about today. But Zach, what's on your heart? What's on your mind?
Yeah, so I thought about this a little bit because I've watched your podcast and I know the questions coming, and some of them could be repetitive in nature. So I thought I'm going to do something a little bit different. I want anyone who's out there watching this right now that's interested in the Old Glory Ultra Relay, do a recon like you're supposed to do with a route. Find out how you could get, on part of that route, and plan to meet us out there when the flag comes through your hometown or wherever you're at or wherever you need to say you need to drive 2 hours. Get to that point and jump in there with us and run with us. We're going to have a lot of that as we get closer. So recon the route, and get out there and support us and be part of this thing. You can run, part of this thing with us as well. That'll be super exciting. So that's my message.
That's great. I love that. We're going to clip that one out and share it too. Yeah, that's great. That's a good word. Zach, appreciate your time. Appreciate your energy.
Yes, sir.
Get on the road with you. Thanks for coming on.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Talk to you later.